So now without much ado, I would like to ask Apul to take over with initial remarks and then manage and moderate the panel. Apul is an excellent mentor and he manages and handholds many of the startups, helps them not to crash but to zoom like a rocket. And I have seen him, he is very dedicated, committed, thorough in his work. And last time we did something together, that's where I experienced how much his attention to detail is. So thank you, Apul, for everything. The rest of the stuff about Apul you can Google and find out. That is already available. These things which I am telling only I know because we interacted a little bit. So over to you. You will use, I think, the collar mic. Or,
yeah.
Okay. Give him a collar mic also. He likes to move while talking.
It's working? Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Over to Apul and team.
Thank you. Thank you, Jose. So the reason Jose had the coffee break before is because he was almost sure that I'm going to put you guys to sleep. So let's prove him wrong. And welcome back, everyone. I think looking forward to an exciting session. What I'm going to talk about, I'm going to just, yeah, go ahead if you could. Yeah, thank you. I thought, I think all right, so I'm going to talk about Proptech for sustainable urban infrastructure. I think we've had some excellent discussions since early morning today, and some very good points have come out of it. I myself learned, a few different things. So my idea today, the way I'm planning to run this session today is, I'll set the context. The idea is, what do we really mean by, urban infrastructure, and what do we mean by Proptech for sustainability? So I'm going to spend some time on that. After that, I've got 4 really exciting startups which are actually doing the work. So, they are the heroes, not really, who are really doing all the work. So we'll get them to speak. They'll all speak for about 9 minutes each. Then we've got Father Paulie Verghese, who's going to talk about the work that they are doing for building sustainable houses. And after that, we're going to have a panel. So the idea was to keep the format a little more interesting, get you guys to involved in interacting with us. So with that, let me start. Maybe Jose, let's ring a bell one more time if we can. I think there's still a few people if we can. I think Jose is right there. Okay, so what does really Proptech for sustainable urban infrastructure means? We live in interesting times. I think COVID has shown us that the world can change in a matter of just a few months. We definitely live not only in such time, but also live in a very, very connected world. What do I mean by that? See, the forest fires in Indonesia have caused a havoc all around the world, right? The volcanic eruption that happened in Iceland, pretty much stopped all the transatlantic flights, right? So an event that's happening in one place is actually changing the way the world communicates, the world responds, the world works, right? Same thing, the glaciers that are melting in Alaska, I think just the sea levels are rising all over the world again. So the impact of that is happening in a very different way. So the connected definition is an event happening somewhere else, and it's impacting someone completely different in a remote part of the world. Oil spills, I can go on and on. Husk burning, we've got an interesting session today, so I'm not going to take away the thunder from Shruti about the husk burning. Plastic, I think enough and more has been said, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. Finally, electromagnetic radiation. Again, we genuinely believe that that's again a core part of why sustainability is important, because even as we live in the connected world here, it's important for us to look at how we can mitigate these problems. And last but not the least, this is a very, very interesting insight that I got. I don't know how many of you have known about this. Aral Sea, this was one of the world's 4th largest body of inland water. Today, it's the largest man-made desert. This is between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. It was basically man-made because the water from there was sort of taken out for cotton irrigation. Now, these are the kind of things that happen, which, while we are all aware of it, a lot of times you need a jolt like COVID to sort of wake you up. And this has happened not just once, twice, but several times. Now, there is a socio part of it, which I think, a lot of other guys have covered as well. There is a lot of socio impact. But let me just, take these 5, 7 things and talk about the economic impact, because this is important, right? The Indonesia fires, just the fires alone, they cost the nation about $5 billion, right? $5 billion on the economic side. Forget the pains that people have to go through. which by itself is massive as well, right? Mexico oil spill. By some calculation, they're saying it's going to be about $8.7 billion for 7 years. Think about it, guys, $8.7 billion for 7 years. The volcanic eruption, $4.7 billion, right? Nothing is really small here. Billion has now just become a number that people are, throwing up there. Ocean pollution, 13.7 billion per year to the marine economy. Water pollution, this can reduce the economic growth by a third. Again, enough and more data. I'm not the data expert here, but let me put it this way. This is exactly what we do at REAP. We really look at stats, we look at numbers, we look at the impact that's happening, and how can we actually counter that. The market impact on the outdoor air pollution, 1% of the world's GDP. Think about it, guys, 1% of world's GDP. And the cost of air pollution due to stubble burning in India is estimated to be $30 billion. Now, these are some staggering numbers, and we'll talk about how some of these things can actually be handled today, right? We don't have to wait for another event to happen. How we can handle some of these events today, and that's what some of my startup colleagues are going to talk about. So what is the problem before us? So we are in India, India Advantage Summit. What I thought would be good for you guys would be to just get a perspective of what is the problem before us here, right? Let me give you some stats. New York is one of the most busiest cities in the world, or most densely populated, or that's what most people understand. There are about 421 people per square mile. 421 people. Tokyo, 16,000, just over 16,000 people per square mile. Hong Kong, again one of the most densely, 17,000. Guess what's Delhi? Almost 30,000 people per square mile. Look at the numbers and look at the way, what the problem just compounds, right? And that's the kind of challenges that we are looking at. Global water scarcity, again, I think the esteemed audience here is probably more aware of it than I am, but that's a reality that's happening. There's nothing new there. The world, there are enough data that's been published. In India, the challenge in India is by 2025, 21 cities will run out of water. That's the stark reality that's facing us, right? Now let me talk about sewage, right? Sewage, again, the India problem is 77% of India's sewage goes untreated, right? 40% of Bangalore, the sewage in Bangalore goes to the lakes. You see those photographs? That's not the foam, that's the chemical and the other thing that go into lake that causes fires and that causes that foam buildup. This is the reality, right? The global waste, waste is a problem, right? We are generating, as humans, the world's generating billions and billions of tons of waste. And we still don't have a way to treat all of that, right? We still don't. 30% of that, close to about, I think, 33% of that is not managed very well. Now, in India, the problem again compounds, right? Since 2018 till 2025, we've almost 3x. We've gone 3 times the amount of waste, the amount of waste we are generating. By some means, if we go at this pace, by 2030, we'll need a landfill of the size of Bangalore, okay, every 10 years to just for waste accumulation. Imagine, right, a city as big as this just for landfill of waste. These are the challenges. I can go on and on about it. We've talked about water, we've talked about waste, we've talked about breathing. Let me talk about breathing. Again, I think enough and more has said, how many of you feel that, we are living in a, post-pandemic, how many of you felt that the air was cleaner? Right? Quite a few, right? Because we were staying indoors, the pollution level was fairly low, right? But that's going to change. He just talked about Joe's just talked about the people leaving at 4 because traffic's worsening. Yes, it is. And guess what? Breathing is going to become harder again, right? So these are the challenges that we face. And again, closer home, what I thought is, let me try and give you guys a perspective on Bangalore itself, because you guys are all here. The picture that you see on the left top, right? That's Bangalore from 50 years plus back, right? That picture is from 1973. We were at about 69% of green cover. The image that you see on the right bottom, we are less than 3% of green cover. What have we done? We've spoiled a city which was so green, and we brought it down from over 60% dense green to about 3%. right? That's the kind of challenges. Now let me why Proptech is important for sustainable infrastructure. You know why? That's the reason. 39% of all global carbon dioxide emission happens in buildings. 35% of all the waste is generated in buildings. 30% of all the energy cost that happens or is wasted is in buildings. 20% of all the water consumption happens in building, and believe it or not, the inside air quality is sometimes 2 to 5x worse than what it is outside. These are figures, again, not something that we've cooked up. These are numbers that are available. Go check out for yourselves. But that's the stark reality, right? Now, everybody, a lot of conversations that I have, people talk about, sustainability means, we need to look at energy, we need to look at water, we need to look at waste. Absolutely agree with you on that, right? And these are, again, one of the startup that's going to present today, Smarta Dharma. They've done this work. They've said that for every increase in 1 degree HVAC, degree in HVAC, there's a 4% increase in the operational cost. Same thing on water. They're saying that there's a 30% increase in the annual water cost. These are numbers for Bangalore, and there's 7% increase in the annual waste cost, right? Now, for a city like Bangalore, mind you, I'm only talking about Bangalore here. For a city like Bangalore, basis the projections that they have done, because that's the work that they do, a lot of data and data modeling that they do, they have projected that there's going to be a loss of about $2.3 billion for just a city like Bangalore, right? You put this together for top 10, 12 cities of India, you're talking about, anywhere from about 25 to $40 billion of loss, right? That's just, when you look at it, it's a jolt that you get, right? But this is what the world talks about. This is what sustainability is all about. What we are saying is there are other ways to really look at it, right? Which is why we started REAP. One of the reasons we started REAP, Brigade REAP, which stands for Real Estate Accelerator Program, what we do is we work with young startups. We work with startups which have the ability to change the way we live, we eat, we breathe, and essentially make the real estate where we live, where we work, more sustainable. So REAP was started with that, and we work with young startups who are not only solving the water, waste, energy problems, but some other problems which have a more credible impact on sustainability today. Now, these are, this is the landscape of startups. I'm not going to bore you through it. You guys can go to brigadereap.com, look at it. But I'm going to focus only on the sustainability startups. 25% of our alumni, of our cohort, falls into sustainability, delivering tangible values. What I mean by tangible values, these are the tangible values I'm talking about, right? BRIGADE has been able to save 4 billion liters of water, 50,000 homes, over 30 million square feet of commercial space they're working on. This is a startup, mind you, solving a real pain point, real problem. Clareco, it is managing over 5 million square feet to deliver, cleaner air. Charger, I'll let Samir talk about it. He's one of the heroes that's going to speak here today. Smarta Dharma, they are building the world's first sustainability resource platform, and they'll talk about what they do. EcoSTP is a great way to treat sewages without the need of electricity or diesel or any of that. And they again have been able to save over 143 tons of carbon emission. Pothole Raja, Pratap and Saurabh are going to talk about the magic that they bring to the table. Structure, Shruti, I'll let her share her numbers. Live Safe, again, I talked about electromagnetic radiation, and they have sort of cocooned about 3 million square feet of space, protecting people in those spaces from radiation. So that's about the kind of, I just want to share details with you about the kind of work that the startups are doing, who are able to deliver tangible benefits. Earlier, just a few sessions back, or I think even the last session, they were talking about how satellite data and others are getting used for detecting air quality, where's burning happening, all of that. I think these are great ways to look at the problem that's happening. But what if along with that, we don't wait for the governments or the state bodies, but do something? While cure is great, what if we could prevent that thing from happening altogether?